It's not my favorite thing to do, to run multiple things. I wish someone could just show up and talk to this person. I'd be like, I can do that. That is in my wheelhouse. I can totally do that. So, okay. So the video portions, were you able to see the notes?
Yes.
Okay, so I attached them to. That's the first time I've ever attached notes. So I've never had anyone ask me for notes. I mean, for questions or something, which is fine. A lot of people will end up having. I had a doctor on. We went through our whole thing. It was about 2.5 hours that I talked to him, and at the end, we were kind of we'd stopped recording for what everyone had heard, but I was still talking. And this is one of the things that gave me the reason to record before and after, because there were some fairly good conversations. And we're talking, and he had said, well, I didn't know that if you would be good at asking questions. So I wrote down 39 questions. And I'm like, okay. And I go, did I ask any of them? He goes, you asked 37. So I felt pretty good about that. I mean, so this is the first time I've ever shared notes. I knew I could attach them. I've never done that. So I didn't know whether you would see them. But then as soon as I send them, I start notating mine. So I have a lot more. So, and this will be much different at the end of our conversation. Actually, that reminds me. For my social media with you, because I hadn't shared notes before, I have a picture of a blank page, and then I kind of have pictures as it's going along. So I wanted to take a picture of how they look now before we start, and then I'll take a picture at the end. Because what will typically happen is on most of my interviews is the first interview is kind of like we're getting to know each other and just that's what it is. And then as soon as we get done today, I will 100% be at the pool because it's going to be 100 degrees today. But no. I'll be writing down notes about like what I wish I would have asked, different things like that. So hopefully if we talk again, typically the second and ones after that are more focused. We'll have like more, this is kind of like a, lack of a better term, not a meet and greet, but kind of like that. Just, yeah. So, okay, so I have Charlene Farnsworth. Any weird pronunciations that I get that perfect? Okay. And then I have at model.charlene and at charfarnfitness on Instagram.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I was going to introduce you as a certified trainer and certified nutrition coach based in Canada.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll probably do that. And then I'll let you explain. I mean, I'll let you tell any socials that you want at the beginning. You're actually going to be our introduction is going to be very different than any introduction I've done before. I've started watching other people's podcasts, and I think that I over-introduce people. So like typically I would introduce you and then you would just be like, yep, that's me, instead of me saying, this is you, and then kind of letting you introduce yourself on what you do. So, it will just, it's going to be fun. I'm excited about this. And I'm excited that you're doing this as well, because Jason Smith, who's been on the podcast a couple times and has like the #1 and #6. And I don't know what made his show so popular, his first one. I mean, I had about 300 episodes at the time, and it debuted in the top 10 and shot to #1, bypassing like a couple people that I didn't think could be replaced. So I think a lot of people are really focused on fitness, and especially a lot of my listeners are in the 35-year-old and above. I'm 56. So I think that becomes more and more of an issue. And we'll talk about that as well. So, okay. Well, let's see. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. It's just, it'll just be a conversation. One other thing I need to explain about myself is that if I had a producer, this would be their responsibility. If we're talking about something and we go off on a tangent, and by we, I mean me go off on a tangent. If you want to finish that story, that will be on you. I probably won't remember to go back to the original story. So, and I'm just letting you know, because I've had people, and I warn people up front. So if you're like, oh, I would like to talk about that, but can I finish the story? Yes, 100%. Or when we're done, going off on the tangent, go, can we finish that other? Yes, 100%. I'm not ignoring that. My brain just is already past that exit and it forgets to go back. So
trust me, I'm on the exact same page, and
okay.
I do the same thing.
No, so that's fine. So if both of us just look at each other blankly, like, what were we talking about? There's a reason that I do think it's funny that when I tell people the name of the title of my show, they focus on the word stoned. Yeah. And I'm like, but I'm also a literal certified card-carrying member of high IQ societies, but they never talk about the genius. But most of the issues that I have with my show are they're very specific to the stoner aspect of my personality, if not anything else. So, okay.
I love the combo.
So here's another thing too. Usually I do intro music and then you sit there for about 10 seconds, not hearing the music going through my soundboard. And then I do the intro. I've actually done all that. I have this on pause. So once I hit this button, we're going to be live recording. So I'll count 3, 2, no 1, and then we'll be recording. And I'll just introduce you by name at that point. Cause I've already done the other stuff. I was like, why am I making guests? I know it's only like 10 seconds, but sit in silence or whatever. So I just took care of that. Okay. I'm super excited about this. So, okay, here we go. We'll get started here in 3, 2, and welcome to the show, Charlene Farnsworth. You are a certified personal trainer and certified nutrition coach based in Canada. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I reached out to you. And here's the odd thing. I saw I'll mention your socials real quick. I found you at Char Farn Fitness. That's CHARFARN Fitness. Because as a 56-year-old, I am very acutely aware of how difficult it is to stay in good physical shape. And so I found Jason Smith, who's been on the program before, found him. I found you, both of you, I reached out to via Instagram, which is weird, sorry, and asked you to be on the program. So thank you for saying yes, but what led you first, being a certified trainer and nutrition coach, or did fitness come first or did the job come first?
So fitness came first, but it came pretty late in life. So yeah, I started to do that, and I guess because it was late in life, and then I did a TikTok that just kind of blew up. And I think it's because, middle-aged before and after, and didn't start, getting serious with fitness till late in life. And once that blew up on TikTok, I had like literally thousands of messages from middle-aged people, male, female, all just comment after comment saying, how did you do this? Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And at the time I didn't have my personal trainer's license, and I was so excited about it. And I really wanted to help these people. So I would give them what worked for me, but emphasize it with, this is what worked for me. I'm not a certified personal trainer. So, I can only just tell you what worked for me, but I can't personally give you the information. I can give you tips and pointers, but without being certified, I just felt like I wasn't obviously qualified to really help them. But that's the first thing that kind of put into my mind that, really I should go after it and get my personal trainer's license, and then I can actually help people, So that's kind of what led me in that direction.
Were you growing up, like, did you participate in like sports? Did you participate in just intramural or just outdoor? Were you fit? And also I have to take this with, I think that outside of the United States, fit is seen differently than what it is within the United. Like if someone said, oh, that's a fit American, and someone that's a fit European, they look dramatically different.
Right.
So how were you growing up fitness wise, just in your own life, and like with was your family fit? Did you have siblings? What was that like?
Okay, so I never really did any serious sports growing up. I was always skinny when I was younger. I was like the always tall, skinny legs, knobby knees. I probably got teased a lot for being super skinny, but I never really was athletic. My mom and dad put me in just fun sports, at the local recreation center and stuff like that, just to occupy my time. But I never really found a niche for any particular sport that I loved. But and then so yeah, I wasn't really fit as a teenager. I was just skinny. And then in my early 20s, I remember seeing on TV, it was the first time I'd ever seen it, a female bodybuilding show. And I was like, oh my God, they weren't like super jacked. They were just cut, lean, nice, small, but tight muscles. And I remember looking, going, I would love to look like that. Oh my gosh. It was the first time that I realized that women can be bodybuilders. So it kind of like sat in the back of my mind, and I joined a gym thinking I'm going to do that, and then I just kind of sporadically worked out here and there, and I looked decent because I hadn't had any children yet, and because I was already skinny. I got a little bit of muscle, but I never really got serious about it. So most of my adult life was kind of like that, just in and out of the gym. Maybe I'd join a gym, go like a few times, then not go back. And then once I had children, I got less and less serious, but I still was luckily genetically thin, like I really didn't put on a lot of weight.
What were your eating habits like? Were they still, so I attribute a lot of the problems that I see with weight is time and effort. No one wants to put forth the time or effort to make a meal, make something that's healthy for them, that's not processed, and it's easy. And we understand that. We used to live out in the country, and we sat down together and we ate. My wife's an amazing cook. We ate. And then when we downsized but moved back into the suburbs, we get it. And we talk about it all the time, and we still do it. But it's like, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? It's like, you just want to run and get some. And that's what we do. And so what were your eating habits like? Were they pretty consistent? Because I get blamed a lot because of my eating habits. I have taken on the moniker of intermittent fasting just because that's a term, and I just say I do that. But I literally will go 2 or 3 days without eating, and then I'll eat, and then I may eat again. And I keep saying I'm going to track this. I never do. I think I have very inconsistent eating habits, but I would think that if I actually put it on a calendar, they would be more consistent than what I think. Because I always talk about how like every other week I'll go 2 to 3 days without eating anything. But I say that it's like every 2 to 3 weeks I'm doing the same thing. So is it really consistent or not? So even though people will look at me and be like, you have terrible eating habits, I think they're just not conventional eating habits. So how was your eating, like your relationship with food growing up? Because I got to tell you, I ate like shit, and I was like you. I was always just thin.
No, I was the same as you. So I never even heard of tracking food back then. And I was very, very lucky growing up, especially as a teenager and young adult, that I could eat anything. And I did. Like my friends would, my best friend, she'd be like, Charlene, I just look at what you're eating and I gained 5 pounds. So I definitely was genetically lucky that way. But there was also the older people that would say to me, oh, it's going to catch up to you one day, eating whatever the heck you want. And I remember thinking, no way, I'm just always going to be skinny. But I was wrong. I was wrong.
And that is it too. But for me personally, because people would always say that, I was kind of in tune to that so that I could make changes. And here's one of the things that I'm right now, and I actually did this for you just because you're in Canada. I'm 197 centimeters and 78 kilograms.
Right.
So like no one in America has any idea how tall or how much I weigh right now.
Yeah.
So, but I'm 6'5", about 172, 175 generally but back in 2008, I wanted to gain weight. So my wife and I did a regimen that we're working out every day, 6 months straight. And during that 6 months, I bulked all the way up to 208. So I put on 40 pounds.
Okay.
And the thing is that I'm like, I didn't enjoy carrying that extra weight around. I really didn't. I mean, I look different. Like when people go, I'll go, if you want to know my size and weight, my topped out, it was Aquaman. Like Jason Momoa, when he was an Aquaman, he's 6'4" and like was 210 in that. I didn't look like him in any way, shape, or form, but that's about the size that I was, but I didn't enjoy it. And now that I'm lighter, when I do weights, sometimes I will pick up like 2 20-pound weights and just carry them around.
Yeah.
Like,
That's great.
and walk around and just be like, what the, I was carrying this 40 pounds. How did I ever get up off a couch? I mean, so I was very in tune by people saying, my dad said that all the time. I was adopted, so our body styles did not look very similar. And so he had always said, hey, at some point it's going to, your metabolism is going to change and it's going to catch up to you, which I agree. But having that heads up gave me, and I'm vain too. So that does it. And I have a hot wife. So that, I mean, we've been together 28 years. So it exponentially, it gets harder and harder for me. So as you made this change, so you've had kids, and I kind of know because I've seen the picture, and I will tell you, I didn't see the picture first. I think you put that it was 47, and I think it was 4752. Actually, 4752. This is on my other note. 4752, and then you had a question mark for 54 because you didn't show that yet. So is that about the time 47 when you were like, and what was the catalyst?
Yeah.
What was the day, the day that you said, I'm going to make a change for whatever reason?
So I remember the day so well. In my early 40s, they found a mass in my throat, and after lots of going back and forth to MRIs and blood work and all this kind of stuff, initially they thought it was throat cancer, so that kind of threw a wrench into my life,
right?
And then they said, no, we think it's thyroid cancer. So they said, we've got to remove it no matter what. It's big and it's bad, and we need to find out for sure what it is. They did a biopsy. The biopsy came back inconclusive. It was just months of hell. It just fucked my brain up really, really bad. But anyways, once we went in and they took it out, they took out my whole thyroid, and they said we did a biopsy right there, and it was still inconclusive. So we have to send it off to pathology. So now after the operation, I'm still waiting weeks to get pathology report back. And thank goodness, finally, I got everything back. And they said, no cancer. I'm like, what? But I did have Hashimoto's thyroid disease, and it was causing the mass to grow. And once they took the thyroid out, Hashimoto's disease was gone. I just have to live for the rest of my life on thyroid pills because I have no thyroid, which is way better than what they initially told me. But anyways, the short of this whole long story was, once I went through that, I can't even explain to you mentally what it did to me. But one of the funny things that I think back on that was kind of funny is I remember sitting in my basement and going, like, all my life, I've kind of worked out off and on and worried about trying to stay healthy and that. And then here I was just going to die from cancer after taking pretty good care of myself most of my life. Why am I wasting my time? Like, this was my brain. I'm just going to live life and not worry about all those little things and just do whatever the heck I want to do. And that's what I pretty much did for a number of years. I just started eating whatever the heck I wanted, drinking tons and tons of, well, I've always drank alcohol, but I started stepping up my alcohol game, and without even thinking that one drink I was making that was loaded with orange juice and pop and vodka, and one drink alone was probably 350, 400 calories, and that's just one drink. And so I kind of just didn't worry about any of that stuff for a number of years, and I could, in the mirror, you're slowly starting to notice changes in your body. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I'm starting to really put on some weight, but I kind of just ignored it and just never stepped on a scale, just let it, simmer. And then I don't know what made me one day decide to step on the scale, but I guess in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh, it's getting out of control, Charlene. You always said to everybody else, you are never going to be fat. You're never going to put weight on. You're going to always be skinny. And I think I'm starting to feel fat. So I stood on the scale for the first time in years. And I looked down, I'm like, oh my God, I am the heaviest I've ever been, even heavier than when I was pregnant. And it shocked me. Like, even though I knew mentally that I was, it's once you step on that scale and the numbers have gone up exponentially from, your younger years, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm still alive. Like, after everything I went through, I'm good. I'm healthy, but I need to do something about this, because otherwise it's just going to especially as you get older, it's harder and harder. So from that day, I got online and I started looking up, what do I do? What's the best way to lose weight healthy, and blah, blah, blah. And so the first thing I did was I went and seen a registered dietitian, and I sat down with her for a number of sessions. We went over, all the updated information of healthy eating and ways to lose weight and keep it off, because I didn't just want to lose it. I wanted to be able to lose it and keep it off. So that was the start, was stepping on the scale after not stepping on the scale for a number of years.
So when you went to this dietitian, was there any negotiating? Like when they originally said, oh, you need to change this habit, cut this out, do this, where you're like, well, can I keep this if I give that? I mean, was there any? So here's one of I haven't added weight that hasn't, I just have never added. It's just not me. I don't go back for I eat when I'm hungry, and that's when my body tells me. So it's hard for me to understand that aspect, like gaining the weight, and how I'm the exact opposite. I know what it's like to watch the scale, because like right now I'm on my BMI is ideal, but I'm on the low scale.
Right.
If I got very sick, something that would cause most people to lose a lot of weight, I don't have that to lose, because then that causes something else. So I have to worry. And recently, and this is more because I don't like the person, I can be very brutal with people. And a guy came in and he missed a day of work. Said that he was sick, came up with this big story. And generally they like to tell a story that you don't want to ask follow-up, all these intestinal issues. And then he said, and I lost 10 pounds. It caused me to lose 10 pounds. And a lot of people were like, oh, I wish I could lose 10 pounds, in 2 days or whatever like that. And I said, bullshit. And they looked at me and they go, you don't think I lost 10 pounds? I go, no. And they go, why not? I go, because I don't think you weigh yourself, so I don't think you would know whether you lost 10 pounds. Right? But I'm being serious, because so many people, they get, like right now, if I am concerned about my weight, and generally it's on the too low side, I will weigh myself. Yeah. But if you look, and I track my weight, every time I weigh myself, I track it. Over the last like 18 months, my weight has not fluctuated more than like a couple pounds, like at the end of each month.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very lucky that way, but I would be negotiating, because so Jason was on the program, and my wife, Jason's a couple years younger than I am, and he's at Fit in Midlife, if you want to follow him on Instagram, but you do. But my wife asked me, she goes, could you make it to look like Jason? Because I always talk about how good of shape I'm in, but no, I am 100% aware. I don't have the last bit of whatever I need within my soul to watch my diet like he does. Like, I mean, I'm in good shape and I work out, and if a bear's chasing us, I will probably outrun the person next to me that's being chased. But that being said, I don't want to, at 56, man, that's a lot of extra work. And so I'm aware of that. And so my long-about way to get to a question with this is, when you decided to go on this fitness journey, was your goal, because I hear this and see this sometimes, the people that get in their 40s or 50s want to look like their version of them in their 20s. when they just need to look like the best you may not like someone who was that's maybe was, I don't know, 5'8" and 160 in high school. I don't know if those numbers even match for guys, but if they did, then if they're 180, then make that 180 work. Don't be focused on the fitness aspect of it and the health aspect of it instead of getting all the way back to what I look like as a 20-year-old. Because I think that can also be detrimental because deep down, you're never going to look like that.
No.
But what you can be is the best looking filling your age there.
Right.
So when you made this change and you went to the dietitian, how quickly did you start seeing results in not just your physical form, but also in your well-being, just as a person?
I would say within probably like the first month and a half, I was doing exactly what she told me to do. I was actually paying attention, probably for the first time in my life, to eating healthy. And the good thing was she, explained to me that I don't have to diet, that, just being aware of the food that you're eating. And the most important thing that she told me that I found helped was the 80-20, like 80% of the time I was eating whole foods, healthy, lightly, if anything, processed, but try to stay away from, the heavy processed stuff for 80% of the time. The really, nutrient dense filling type food 80% of the time, and then allow myself 20% of the time to have the soul foods, the foods that are maybe not quite as healthy for you, that are loaded with calories, or, the more highly processed foods that you enjoy, so that this way you're not preventing yourself from having those things that you like, so you don't feel like all of a sudden one day you're going to just binge on them because you haven't been allowed them. So it made it so much easier for me to actually follow it, because I was doing exactly that, 80-20, pretty much. And I wasn't recording my food then. I just literally changed things. Like I would start noticing if there's two different sauces to pick from, and I like them both. I would read the ingredients. I was starting to read ingredients for the first time in my life, and I would come up with the lower, the lower calories though. So those type of things really helped, light stuff or diet stuff. And in the beginning, when I tried certain things, I'd be like, oh, I don't like the taste of it. Like Diet Coke, for instance. I can't stand it. But I don't really drink a lot of pop anyways. But I'm just saying, like, there were certain things I didn't really like the taste, but I would still attempt it. And then I found after a while, I started getting used to like the whole grains, the healthier versions, instead of the white bread, the whole wheat bread, and, the lower fat milk, just to bring the calories down and stuff. And then I just got so used to all that light stuff that now it's everything I eat is like the lighter version, or and I have some friends that kind of tease me. They're like, no, that's not the real stuff. Bring out the real stuff. I'm like, that's the real stuff to me, because I like it. It's helped me to keep my weight off and eat a little bit less, with still being able to enjoy the other stuff 20% of the time. So that was one of the best things that she helped me with, was that. So,
well, and I didn't warn you about this. I warned you about many things before we started, but I didn't warn you about the multi-level questions that my wife always warns me about. So this may have a couple of questions all lumped into one, and I apologize, but you touched on a couple of things. But I wanted to go back and first ask, and the reason I'm going to tag on the family here at the end is I don't want to forget to ask that. But on the dietitian, when you were finding that, were you referred to one? Did you find it on your own, or did you have to go through and find the right person that you knew that you could? Because sometimes there's a friend, I call a friend now, but Rudolph, when we first met, we didn't get along. We didn't. And I remember one day I walked by, I saw him, he was out to lunch with someone. I went over to say hi, and he goes, hey, do you remember when we used to hate each other when we first met? And I go, we didn't hate each other. We didn't know how to communicate. And so now we do. So even though now we would be able to communicate effectively, we weren't then. So I'm just wondering, like, finding a dietitian, was that difficult or was that fairly easy? And what were you looking for specifically? And then I'm going to piggyback just because you had kind of mentioned family and cooking and looking at things. So did you take your family either voluntarily or involuntarily on this health kick with you? Like, as you're changing from white bread. So if white bread to wheat bread was a change in our family, I would be going out and buying white bread on my own. I mean, so did they pull you? So I'm just wondering, did you yank your family along with this health kick as well? Or did you just say, I'm going on this. If you want to join me, I'm doing it. Or were you making two separate meals?
So in the beginning, when I was just starting out, no, I didn't force anything on the family, but I'm the one who does the grocery shopping. So it was, you want a sandwich? There's the whole wheat bread. You know, you want some milk in your cereal? Then there's the skim milk, you know, that kind of stuff. So, but I never forced anybody to eat that stuff. But if you want the white bread, go ahead, go buy it.
Right.
Like, you know, unless they put a special request in, obviously. If I was shopping and they said, could you please, you know, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not buying the white bread.
So you can still physically touch a bag of white bread then?
Yes.
So it doesn't burn your fingers or anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So how about with a dietitian? How did you find your dietitian? Because it sounds like you had a very good relationship. It sounds like, you know, almost instantaneously you got on a program that led to good results. But how was that finding a dietitian itself? Was that easy for you? And how did you do that?
So Google is your friend. I mean, it can be your friend.
Right.
I literally just went on and started researching the different, because I didn't even know the difference between a nutritionist, a dietitian, and you hear all these different terms. And I'm a very evidence-based person, and I want to do what's really going to work. I don't want to waste time if I don't have to on trying a million different things. Like, I want to get right to the best means possible. So that's when I realized that dietitians are like the best way to go. They're also more expensive because they're way more educated, just like anything in life, right? But I just thought, this is what I really want. I want somebody who knows exactly what to do, and I know that they know what they're talking about. And then, so that's how I realized a dietitian is what I wanted. And then I just started looking locally because it would just be easier to see somebody that was local. And when I found a few different names, I just went through reviews and, you know, looked at their websites and things that I liked, that I didn't like. And that's how I ended up finding the lady that I found. And she was magnificent. Like, as soon as I walked into her office the first time, I just felt like, okay, just like what you say, when you just connect right away.
Right.
She looked amazing. I know, you know, you shouldn't judge people by their looks, but when I walked in, I'm like, she takes care of herself. Like, she practices what she preaches. And to some people that wouldn't matter, and that's fine. But to me, it just emphasized the fact that she takes care of herself. And she didn't just look skinny, she looked fit. And it turned out she also had her certification for her personal trainer, which was even more of a bonus because she had it all. But yeah, and then I literally had appointments with her like every, I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 weeks, but in the meantime, like, I would message her back and forth and stuff. And if I had any questions, she would answer them. And so, yeah, I really, for a year, I was with her, and I lost, I think it was like 35 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but to me, it was a big, big difference. But I'd also started working out again, but not serious, just like, you know, doing a little bit of both. But the diet was the biggest change in my, you know, what I was doing at the time that led to the biggest change.
So real quick then, because you were talking about how kind of the working out, you weren't, as you got thinner, is that what kind of prompted, well, now I want to be toned. I don't want to just be thinner. Now, if I'm going to be thinner, I want to tone that as well. Because right now, if I stopped working out, I have no question that I would stay thin.
Yeah.
Like that I'm not going to gain weight. But so here's one reason I work out. I don't remember my age, but when I used to play basketball, I didn't work out. I thought it was detrimental to my game. And I didn't need to for my game. I just didn't. But I remember some cute girl coming by, and she squeezed my arm as she walked by, just like to say hi. And I was so embarrassed by the lack of muscle mass that I had, that I was just like, I got to start working out. I mean, it was something that stupid. And it wasn't like, I don't want to be huge. I don't want to bulk up. I will work out just enough that people will be like, oh, I bet he works out. Right. That's literally, I hit that line, I'm good to go. So, I always write notes as we're talking. And so now you found your dietitian, you've started working out again. Did you find, because I've seen your pictures and it looks like you have a home gym, but when you first started working out, were you going, some people feel like they need to go somewhere. I much prefer to work out at home. I can totally regimen myself to make sure I work out at least twice a day at home, but I don't want to get in a car. I don't want to drive somewhere. For you personally, once you started working out, did you need that companionship, someone to push you, or did you have that no matter where you were?
Well, so the first year that I lost the weight, I was working out just at home. Like I've always had like, some dumbbells and stuff like that at home. So I was just doing, maybe 3 days a week, a little bit of full body here or there at home, just with what I had. And then after the year was up, we'd all our friends, there was like a large group of us, had gone away to Punta Cana. And I was so excited because I went out for like the first time in a long time bathing suit shopping. And I actually liked the way I looked in a bathing suit, which for so many of us women is like, bathing suit shopping can be like such a horrible experience because you always feel like you never look good, but it was the first time I felt so great. And then when we got to the resort, I just was, loving how I felt. And I remember they had this, they have the pool games. I don't know do you go to all-inclusive resorts at all?
No.
Okay, no. So they always have, like, around the pool, they always have these fun pool games and stuff. And they had this long mat where you could run and jump off the end and people tried to knock you off. And the announcer said, oh, and this lady here is celebrating her 50th birthday. Let's all give her a warm round of applause or whatever. And I remember looking at her and thinking, okay, next year I'm going to be 50. And I know this is so superficial of me, but I remember thinking to myself, oh, I don't want to look like that. And you could just see she, not her physical facial appearance or anything, but her body just looked really old and out of shape. And I'm thinking, when I come back next year, I want to come back and I want them to say, and this is her 50th birthday. And I want people to look at me and go, what? 50? Whereas everybody was looking at this woman probably going, 50? Are you sure? You know what I mean? Like, I know it sounds horrible, but that I'm very vain too. And I thought, well, I've done so well. My weight itself is good where it is. So what's next? What do I do next? And then I started thinking back to like when I was younger and not wanting to look like that, but really loving the look of the athletic woman, and I'm like, I think I need to hire a personal trainer. I think I want to put some muscle on. I want to look toned like those ladies on TV did. So from that trip, that was like the signal that, okay, I got to start doing something different besides just the diet and a little bit of exercise. So that's when I hired a personal trainer at 49. And then by the time that I was 50, I had been with the personal trainer for a year and still always maintaining like my healthy eating habits and stuff. And I remember going away and thinking, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe I'm in the best shape of my whole life, like health-wise, body-wise, like, and I'm 50. So it was a really great birthday. I'd actually accomplished what I wanted to. And it was through resistance training was the big difference from the next year is what I started to do.
The interesting thing as you're talking about this is that, and this is one thing that I've missed about doing video podcasts, that I like being face to face with someone because you can see, and I can see on your face as you're talking about that, the joy that it's giving you in your life. And this is something that almost everyone can do. Everyone can take their diet into their hand. They can take their fitness into their hand. Most people without medical conditions, but they can do that. And how excited and how good it makes you feel. You can't do that. I mean, I can't think of another job that someone says, maybe your first week at a new job, you're that happy that you just sounded, but there's nothing else that can give you that. And that's one of the things that Jason says on his spot all the time is he's like, the difference between happy people and people that aren't happy is happy people do things that make them happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real simple, and it seems like that, but sometimes you don't want to do that. And the interesting thing, you're mentioning bathing suits, and my wife, she'll be, I mean, I feel weird because it's not my story to tell. She'll be 50 later this year.
Okay.
So, but she looks amazing. A couple years ago, she bought a one piece. And I was appalled. I like, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'm like, you're still fucking hot. I go, no. And she goes, really? And so here was my basis. I go, I'm not going to like that tan line. I'm not going to like the whole body just white. I go, you know what's sexy? Tan lines. That's what's sexy. So it's funny. So she was like, okay. And so she continues, and she looks amazing. So, yeah. So I'm very lucky that way, but it was funny because that can be very pressing on you. And I don't know. I do not see things the way the rest of the world is. So it's very hard for me to understand some of those things. I was writing down some notes on here as we're talking. So we're talking about your nutrition now. We're talking about your fitness. So that's going to lead to these next two questions, and they go together. Cheat days. Do you have cheat days where you're just like, screw my diet, I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to worry about my diet. I'm going to do whatever I want today, pizza, what have you. And if no cheat days, or even if you do you still have one guilty vice that maybe like, oh, well, you're into fitness, but you're smoking a joint. I don't know. Like, do you still have a guilty vice as well?
So I don't like calling them cheat days. And part of it goes back to when I was with that dietitian. She said, I don't call them cheat days because it insinuates you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. And when you work out hard and you are eating good 80% of the time, that 20% of the time is reward time. It's not cheat time. You're rewarding yourself for all that you're doing and all that you've accomplished. You're not cheating, because cheating means something you really shouldn't be doing.
Right.
So yeah, it was like more of a reward. And because I just don't believe in cutting anything out, I don't really need a cheat day. But I do have some days where I eat way more than I should. Absolutely. Especially this week, I'm on holidays. So, and, I sometimes will kind of feel a little guilty because I know, like, last night is one of those times I just ate way too much, but I'm very aware of when I do those kind of things. And throughout the rest of the week, I will make sure. So, okay, last night was a bad night. I'm not going to have a bad night tonight. I'm going to be really good. I'm going to eat all my healthy stuff, and I'm going to, eat the satiating foods that are more going to fill me up and make me not feel like I need to binge, or whatever. So yeah, I will correct. I correct throughout, little by little, throughout like the rest of the week. I will eat a little bit less each day and not so much of the junky stuff is what I do. So yeah, I don't know if that answers.
It does. Yeah. So do you have a guilty vice that you've kept that?
So other than when I'm prepping for a show, because that's a totally different ball game. I like to drink vodka. I've never, I often will see health people online going, if you want to be in shape, you absolutely have to totally cut out alcohol. And that's fine for people that want to do that. But I enjoy my weekend or holiday drinks, and I don't plan on, unless, I had some health issue and I had no choice but to stop doing it. And I don't drink every day, but when I'm at holidays or weekends, if I want to drink, I'll drink. And one of the ways that I'd lost when I was losing weight, everybody's like, initially, did you quit drinking? I'm like, no, I did not. But instead of the orange juice and the grenadine, I started drinking soda water or 0-calorie drinks. So like when I would have my vodka, it would be vodka with soda water and a splash of lemon. And even just doing that, I was saving tons of calories. So yeah, I still enjoy my bevies. Like I said, unless I'm in prep, I don't drink it all when I'm in prep. Just that's a different thing. But yeah, and poutine, that is, I'm sure you know what poutine is.
Right? I do. I
Okay.
am very well aware.
Okay, yeah. So that is like one of my favorite foods, which is so high in calories. So it's one of
Yeah,
the
I was gonna say. I mean, that's
yeah.
isn't that so? It's like basically French fries and cheese curds. Is that
And
correct?
yeah, deep fried French fries and gravy and cheese curds.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
I don't know why that would sound like it would pack anyone with any weight, extra
oh, it's
weight. I mean,
super high calories. But I mean, if you eat it every single day, it would be yeah, it would not be good. So just because of how high in calories it is, but it's my I still love my poutine and I'll still have it. I just in years gone by, I would never have thought I would have it every day or whatever. But now, if I do have it, it's like maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, or I'll just eat half an order of it. I don't eat too much of it, but it still allows me to have my poutine. So I don't feel like I'm, have to binge on it when I eat it. I when I want it, I eat it. So
there's a certain number of my stoner listeners that are just laughing hysterically at the word poutine right now.
poutine, I know.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we could do that. So you mentioned something as we were just talking about fitness, about getting ready for competition. So this could go one or two ways. So what led next? So now you're focused on your diet. You started working out again. So was the desire to become a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, did that come first, or did the desire to now become to compete in fitness competitions?
Okay, so after I had hired the personal trainer and started doing some resistance training and everything, I really wasn't thinking about wanting to be a trainer myself. However, I really was paying attention. I'd been to had a few different trainers, trying one out in different styles and stuff like that. And so I was really paying attention and being mindful of what was working, what wasn't working, all that kind of stuff. So I kept that knowledge, for myself type of thing. But then when like I said about the TikTok, that's what kind of started to make me think about, okay, maybe I should pursue just as not as my main, way of making money, but just to study and do so I can actually help people.
Right.
And then after, like I said, when I turned 50 and I was in the best shape of my life, I just felt like, I really like this look and I'd like to keep getting bigger. I'm a natural athlete and I'm not genetically gifted in any way, shape, or form. So, it's not like I'll ever be like a pro or anything like that, but I just wanted to get bigger. And then that's when the thought of, I always thought it'd be so cool to be able to step on stage, but I know how hard that would be and how much sacrifice it is. So I never really thought I would actually do it. But now I'm thinking I'm kind of getting the body to do it. Maybe if I, pushed a little bit harder, I could actually do it. So yeah, that kind of set the seeds in there to maybe I should. And then I started, everybody would be saying, are you a bodybuilder? And I'm like, if people are thinking that I am, maybe I should be, maybe I should actually try it.
Well, so were you a performer at any point? So you said that you didn't really play sports, but did you perform in were you an actress growing up? Was there any what was that performance bug where you're like, okay, now because you do understand that when you're on stage like that, you're very well aware that you're not wearing baggy shorts down to your knees and a hooded sweatshirt. So for a lot of people, they may say, I'm in very good shape, but I could. So my wife and I had this talk. So when I first reached out to you, you said that you were a little nervous about being on the podcast, but you said that you always tell your clients to step outside their comfort zone. So they're going to have to do that also. And I had shown my wife your Instagram page and everything, and she thought it was interesting. She goes, so she's nervous about being on a podcast, but she can get up on stage like that. She goes, I hate doing a podcast, but I'll do a podcast 100 days out of 100 instead of getting on stage. So what made you go, okay, I'm doing this? I mean, because I will tell you, if someone said, hey, you need to take off all your clothes in public, I wouldn't even ask why. I'd be like, okay, I'll do it. I mean, am I saving cancer or something? What am I doing here? I'm just naked. Okay. But I mean, I'm an exhibitionist. I'm a performer. I will be there. So what made you take the jump from being in a gym, working out, saying I look good, to saying I want to be on stage and do all the stuff that gets you on stage? Because what you do in the gym is not the same stuff that you need to be in a competition. So what was the jump?
Okay, so back to the initial start.
I know a lot.
No, it's okay.
I know.
It's okay. I'm the same. But I did do some runway modeling when I was younger. Nothing professional, but at one point in my life, that was the direction I thought I was going, was into the fashion industry. I took a 2-year certification, not certification, but a certificate course for fashion. And while I was doing some designing and some modeling and stuff like that, I loved, and even in high school, you know, they had the fashion shows because we had the fashion arts program. We did fashion shows, and I had no fear of walking on stage. I always, I was comfortable in heels. I just felt fine walking on stage. But if I had to talk, that's a totally different story. So yeah, it's the same even to this day. And that's when I said I'm nervous, it's because I have to actually talk.
Right.
And like if I had to do a speech, you know, oh gosh, I freeze up, like literally freeze up, and my brain just goes, boop, where am I? What am I doing? Like, yeah, so it's totally different. Again, I would walk on a stage all day long, half naked in a little skimpy bikini, but don't ask me to even say like one sentence at the front of the stage, because then I'll be like a blubbering idiot. So yeah, it's the whole talking thing, but I have confidence in my walk and in my, you know, just as long as I don't have to talk, I'm good.
Well, you've done an excellent job talking so far today. I wanted to ask you, because I didn't, and I noticed this, I was going to get to it at some point. How tall are you?
Well, I was 5'9", but I seem to be shrinking with age. So I'm about 5'8" and a half.
So is that a benefit? Because I saw the picture, and we'll probably get to the Charfit team eventually, but I saw a picture, and you're taller than the other two girls that are in the picture with you. And
Yes.
so I have found it difficult to add bulk.
Yes.
Because I feel like,
absolutely,
and I could just be given an excuse, but I feel like it's so long that's why I've always been like, I'm fine looking well defined. I don't have to I wish I could fill up a shirt. There's some guys that I'll see, you know, they'll be wearing like a tight shirt. I'm like, I'll ask my wife, I'll be like, do my arms look like that in my sweater? And she's like, oh no. Yeah.
No,
yeah. And then she laughs like that too.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely hard.
Yeah. So it is harder for you to do that as being tall. And do you think it benefits you though in your performance or your presentation? Because I've always felt that being tall sets me apart than everyone else. Because even if you're on stage, even if no one's next to you, the person in front of you, the person behind you is probably going to be shorter than you. So it does stand out. So did that help you in performances?
I think so. I think, and even with the modeling, like, you know, they always want the tall people. So yeah, I think that kind of helps in that sense. But when it comes to the specific category that I like to compete in, that I want to be able to be so big in, which is the figure category, it's not so good, because the shorter people can have shorter muscles, more compact. They can, you know, really get the muscles nice and big looking, compared to somebody who's got the longer limbs and the taller body. It's not as easy for us. So usually the shorter competitors, like you'll see even with the big, huge bodybuilders, they are usually all much shorter. They look big when they're on stage because they're so massive, but when you see them standing beside the average person, they're usually much shorter. Yeah.
So some of the notes I wrote down, since we're just talking about competition, is what do judges look for when they're in the type of competition that you do? And maybe explain that first, but the type of competition you do when you're on stage and the fellow competitors, what are they specifically looking for?
Well, it depends on which category you're in. Every category is different, but my favorite category, the one that I like to compete in, is figure. And what they're looking for is the X from the big shoulders, the small waist, the big glutes and big legs. So for me, because of, like I said, I don't have genetics on my side and I started later in life. I have to work really hard just to be able to even say that I compete in that category, because it's such a tough category. But yeah, so it's the X figure that they're looking for the figure category. But I mean, every judge sees things differently, just like anything in life. So you just never know. When you go to different shows, you'll see the winner of the figure at this show looks completely different than the winner at this show. And a lot of it just comes down to the different ways that judges, decide what they're looking for that day. But there's certain things that are always there, like the X, that's the nice big back and big strong glutes and big strong legs, hamstrings, all that kind of stuff are always there. But then all the other little things, like if you have two almost identical athletes, what one judge thinks should be the winner, the other one might think the other one should be the winner. So you never really know 100%.
And I think I know the answer to this because I notice it on myself. I love the sun. I love I was so happy I had a summer tan thanks to climate change. I had a summer tan in the middle of April here in the Midwest in the United States. Does that help? Because I noticed that in your performance pictures, you seem to be much tanner than you are in most of your other pictures. Even when you're on holiday I think you should be tanner. You're tan. So does that help show definition?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And here's a weird thing too. So I've always been different. I've always been a nonconformist. So I shave my hair on my body. And I did that initially because I'm so thin that it would show off definition. I think I originally started shaving my legs because I wore knee braces. And so I shaved under the knee braces. Well, come summertime, it looked like I had hair tube socks on because there was no hair above, the middle of the calf. So it looked less weird to have a shaved legs than it did to have half-haired legs.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that looks dumb. And so I shaved my chest. And I'm like, that's a lot of definition. And then I remember holding our daughter once, and I think it was Morgan. I don't remember which one it was, actually. Actually, it was Trinity. I was holding, and my arms were so hairy. I'm like, well, that's coming off. So I shave, but I like it now because it shows the definition a lot better. Because I'll notice that I'll look in the mirror. I'll be like, well, I need to shave. And then I'm like, I'll shave and it look like I worked out. And it'll be like, I look much better now. Thank you. So, so shaving for me, but being tan also does that. Is that a tanner that you... Is that a natural tan or tanner? Because I'd assume a natural tan would damage the skin in a way that you wouldn't want.
Yeah, so, I could never get as dark, no matter how much I tanned, as I am when I competed. So this year I did back-to-back competitions, a week apart, 2 different federations, and they offer tanning, like you pay for it, and they offer it through the competition. And the first one that I did was for the UFE. And I thought, wow, I'm so dark. This is amazing. Like, I love the look. But then the following weekend, I did the Toronto Naturals, which is a CPA event. And I looked at myself. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe the difference. I was so dark. Just the difference in federations of how dark they want you. I couldn't. Even my husband was like, wow, he loved it. He's like, wow, like, you look so amazing. And it just makes those muscles pop. But yeah, it definitely, I mean, I was so dark that we went to a mini wedding event directly after my last competition. And my one Black friend was there, and she puts her arm next to me. She's like, you are literally darker than I am right now. And I was. I'm like, oh, you're right. Oh my goodness. Like, I was just so dark. But yeah, it looks great on stage and it looks great on pictures, but you wouldn't want to be that dark walking around because it is very phony looking. Like it's
so
just,
I will tell you that I think, so I have Black people that'll come up and put their arms next to me and they'll be like, because I say that all the time, like, people that know me, they're like, people don't mistake you for Black. I'm like, yeah, they do all the time. And it's like, because they know I'm white. But when I had a job that there were 5 Black employees. And well, 6 if you want to count me. And I was the third. Literally the only two darker people than me were the two that were from Africa. They both had immigrated in from Africa, and I love being dark. I love I love everything about it. So the fact that self tanner, because that's what I hate, the wintertime.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So do I. Just.
So let me ask you this real quick, because I had to follow, because a lot of times while we're talking, I told you this, it's kind of like introductory where I come up with questions that I didn't even know I had. How many federations are there that where you compete, or in Canada, and I don't know if you do it internationally, however, how many federations are there, and how often do you compete, or have you been competing? Is that ramping up or slowing down?
So I don't really know for sure how many different federations there are. I mean, there's the two different ones that I competed in this year, and I know of like another two maybe, but there's been a few that have come and gone. But the CPA in Canada and the UFE are two of the CPA is the biggest one, but yeah, so there's probably 4 or 5 maybe even in Canada, but I've only ever competed in the UFE and the CPA. And this year I did 2. In 2022, I did 1. That was my first show. I had planned on competing for my 50th, like in that year, and I trained down for a competition, and then COVID hit. So instead of doing a competition because everything was shut down, I ended up doing a photo shoot just so that I had something to document, that all that training down and prep and everything. So even though it wasn't a competition, I think of it as like my own little personal competition. So I've stepped on stage 3 times, like 3 different competitions, but then had that photo shoot in the beginning. So it's kind of like 4 times in my brain anyways, but yeah.
Do you, when you're getting ready for a competition, so you'd mentioned that you had back-to-back weeks. I would assume, is that easier having them back-to-back weeks so that there's no like decompress? Like now I have 2 months and I could kind of get out of a rhythm because I'm already here. I'm in peak physical condition. Let's just do this. So that's easier.
Yeah.
Do you have the opportunity to do that often? Do they arrange their competitions in such a fact that a competitor could do that?
Well, again, it was 2 different federations, so they don't work together to figure out what's best. But once competition season starts, which I think April is like the beginning. Yeah, I think April's the beginning, and then it goes all the way through till like November. I think it's like the last competitions. There's pretty much a competition every weekend. You'd have to travel to get to them, but yeah, there's pretty much one every weekend. So some people will say, don't ever do back-to-back competitions. It's horrible. Other people will say, do them. I personally wanted to try it because it just worked out great, the timing of it. And I'd wanted to do a CPA event. And it was the week after. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I found it was not bad. I was there anyways, if you would have asked me like the very first time I competed, if I could have done that, it would have been no way. Because the second that the competition was done, I was like, oh, thank goodness it's over. But I guess because I'd done it before, now it was a little bit easier this time. I just got right back into it. And yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then. You bring up why after that first competition, was it just because there was so much build up to it? Or did you not? Was it not a good experience when you got on stage, or what led you to that? I just want to, I'm ready for this to be done right now.
I think because it was my first competition and it was hard. It's not easy, getting on stage, and I loved it. It was an amazing experience, like so fantastic. But I was just dying to eat normal again and have a normal life again. So at the time I thought that maybe there was just going to be that one, a bucket list thing, and I did it. I've done it. It's great. But I'm a very what's the word I'm looking for, competitive person, and with myself, like with others too. I mean, I love a good competition, but in my brain afterwards I'm like, okay, I'm glad that was over, but what can I do now to up it? Like what I need now, I need a new goal. Like, after a week, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. What's my next steps? So I took a year and a half, and I knew that I needed to still put more size on to continue with the direction I wanted to go. So I took a year and a half after that first competition to just bulk up as much as I could. And in that meantime is also when I got my trainer's license. And yeah, so now that's the stage I'm at right now, because I've done the competition. I know I still need to get bigger if I want to compete. So I'm back at the bulking again.
Well, and let me ask you that, because that brings up another good thing, that when I used to work in the golf industry, people used to say, oh, you must play golf all the time. I actually played a lot more golf when I wasn't in the industry than I was when I was in it. So
Yeah.
now that you're a certified trainer and certified nutrition coach, has that taken away from, well, I guess let me even back up a little. Did you have a full-time career that you transitioned away from to be a certified trainer and nutrition coach? Or is that something that you're doing? Or does that take away from your competition edge? Like, do you have to dial it back with your client, or do you just have to double your efforts at that point?
So that's a great question. I still do have a full-time job. So the training is on the side. I'm hoping that eventually I can make it my full-time job, but I've got like 10 clients right now, so it's not enough to, but mind you, I haven't really been pushing the advertising or for more clients at this point, because I really want to get all the experience in I can, which is what I did with my first two clients. I didn't take on any new clients. People kept asking me, when are you going to have a website? When are you taking on clients? And I'm like, I have clients right now that I'm working with that I want to show the world that I know what I'm doing first, so that once I open that website, I've got befores and afters. I've got actual testimonials. I've got proof that I know what I'm doing. So, yeah, so I've worked full time, which I still do, and have the training on the side. But as far as does it affect my working out, I would have said no, but I'm realizing now it does a little bit, in the sense that now that I've started to get clients and, I've got the website up and running, I worked through prep and trained with my two clients, and we all competed at the same show. Different, we were on stage at different times, different categories and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. It was great, but I only had the two of them. And now that I've got more clients and still working out and all that kind of stuff, I've decided that even though I qualified for the Worlds with the UFE Federation in November, I'm not going to compete, because my two girls qualified as well that competed with me, and I really want them to do amazing, and they've got all the will to be amazing, but I want to put all my effort into coaching them, and as well as my new clients. So I've decided I'm not going to compete in November, and I'm just going to continue to build on my own. And I'm going to compete again, but probably in another year and a half. But I want to put everything I have into coaching and making sure that they do the best that they can do, and that I can coach them with all of my time, instead of also, because it's really, really hard to be in prep and work and coach and, without slacking in one of the areas. So I want to make sure I get it all to them as a coach.
Well, and that answers down near the end of my question list that I had originally sent, is like Toronto in November. What between now and then? But you're not going to compete then.
No, I'm not. And part of me is a little sad, because, it's the world finals. But another part of me is really happy, because like I said, I get to put all my effort into coaching and training those two girls that are competing there. And I also, my favorite part of everything I do is the gym. Like the whole process of building and, manipulating the body and changing. And so I'm very, very focused now on my trouble areas of where I want to build even more. And so when I look forward to like what I'm going to look like another year and a half and stepping on stage, then I'm hoping to bring a even better package to the stage than I would come November. Because I still feel like, because it's the finals, it's the Worlds, the competition is going to be fierce. It's not just like the regionals. So I feel like, because I'm so competitive too, I don't want to just walk up on stage and just say, I made it, here I am. I want to walk up on stage and say, I made it. Please give me my medal. You know, I want to be able to do well. I want to be the best I can be. So yeah.
Well, and so this will be a two-pronged question too, because I'm going to still. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're not competing in Toronto in November, but maybe it's not. So, do you think if one of your girls, and the day that this show, if people are listening to this on release day, I'm actually going to be Sky Parker. I will be, and she's one of your girls. So I'm going to have her on. So we're going to talk a little. And so then I'm going to see what type of guilt she has, knowing that you're not going to compete so that she can be put up on the pedestal. Oh my gosh.
No, she is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Well, and so the reason I reached out to Sky was because you all are at different points. She's a little bit younger than you are. So I wanted to get her perspective also of what made her make the change at the age that she did as opposed to when you did, and what her goals are, because she's a little bit being younger, she has more time to think about, do I want to be in Worlds? Do I want to be in this? Where, so that will be very interesting as well. So you'd mentioned the categories. What type of categories, like, just because we'll talk to Sky here in the future, like what type of category do you I guess compete in, as opposed to what Sky is competing in? Or is it the same?
So Skylar and I both do figure, but when I do figure, thankfully they have different age categories. So she does the open because of her age. When I do masters. Now, granted, I did my first competition. I also went into the open just for the experience of it all. But, and that's one of the reasons why we actually weren't on stage competing against each other at our last competition, even though we both did figure. She was competing against the open group, and I was competing against the masters 35 and up and masters 45 and up. So we were standing on the stage at the same time at one point, just because they had all of the figure people out, but we weren't technically competing against each other in that category. So she did figure. She also tried wellness, but it was her first competition. So we were just kind of seeing what the judges thought of, how her scoring went, to see which category she would suit best. And figures definitely her gig. She's she's got it, and mentally she is very prepped. Like she wants it. She's going for it. She's very, very dedicated. And I think she's going to go places for sure. But yeah, so she did figure and wellness, and she also did transformation, which I did at my very first competition, transformation. Because she really, I'm not sure if you've seen her before and after picture.
I think I saw at least one of the before and after pictures that she had. Yeah.
So she did the transformation as well. And my other girl that competed in the same show, she did a bikini and she did fitness model. So again, different categories than what
so what is the difference? So you're wearing a bikini so what is the difference between bikini and just
figure?
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So figure outfits are actually different than the bikini. From the front, they look the same, except for the figure comes up much, much higher. And in the back, the figure suit connects to the bottom of the bikini so that it leaves your back open, so that you can see, because the whole shape thing like this, you can see all those muscles, because it's not doing up right in the middle of your back. It's not distracting. So your whole back is open for figure. Whereas bikini, it does up like a regular bikini. It's just like,
okay. I didn't know there. I mean, so here's the weird thing. So I'm 56. I still wear a Speedo. Yeah. And I had to point out to someone else showed up in a Speedo once. I go, well, they're in an American Speedo. And they go, what do you mean? I go, look at the difference. And I go, because my speed is 2-inch wide on the side, where an American's like 4 inch. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but you can't. I mean, just so I didn't know what the difference between the swimsuit that you were wearing and a bikini would be.
Yeah. Well, I did do the fitness category as well. So I'm not sure if you remember the colors, if you've seen the difference. So the red suit that I wore was for fitness, which was like the same as a bikini. And then the one that looks like warp speed, that one is for figure.
Okay, I don't want to. I don't want to feel like I'm too familiar with your photographs. So, oh yeah, that one, the red one. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about. So let me ask you that, because that's a great point. Because that's what I love about doing. Because this is just a conversation. I'm just asking you random stuff, and you'll be like, "Why did I just do that for an hour and a half?" That being said, you displayed some of your competition suits, competition wear, whatever you want to call it. But so is a designer doing those for you for each one? Do you have a personal designer? Is that something that's done by the Federation? Because those were great suits as well. So, and I know that you had taken a picture and you had tagged someone and said, but I didn't get the full gist of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I went with an idea and gave it to Alexandra, Alexandra Suits, and we just kind of like mashed together our ideas, and she pulled it off, and it was exactly what I was hoping for, but even better. So yeah, so you can do your own suit, but it's kind of risky because, it has to be exactly just the way the judges want it. So there's tons of suit designers out there. I've been to 2 different ones. The one that I was with last time did both my suits for this competition. But yeah,
they were great. I want to ask about competition real quick, because I didn't ask about this earlier. Is for you personally the best and worst part of competition, and then for you, best and worst part of competitors that maybe you, I guess maybe know or don't know. I guess the competitors, best and worst of the competitors, but best and worst of the event itself, and then the competitors that you're there with.
Okay. Well, competition itself, the best part is just knowing you got there. It's really, really hard. You have to pass up on nights out with your friends, which I love. I really love spending fun nights out partying with my friends and stuff. You have to pass up, everybody's going out for dinner and stuff, and you can't have that. And you're just constantly marking down what you're eating and making sure you're hitting everything. And, so it's really, really tough. So once you get there and your body looks absolutely amazing, you feel so accomplished. It's like, I can't even, you have to do it to understand it. It's what you put your body through. But that's also the bad part, is it's really not healthy for your body to be that stage lean, and you suffer some consequences. You're extra tired, you're extra weak. Even though you probably look stronger than you ever have because you see more definition, you're barely eating any calories, and your macros are down, and therefore your strength is down. When you're in the gym, you still have to keep working out, but you're dropping in your weights. You just feel weak, so that's probably at the same time, it's a positive, it's also a negative. And as far as competitors, I've had nothing but absolutely amazing experiences. I've made so many friends. I've never had a bad experience with other competitors. Everything has just been magnificent. The UFE Federation that I compete in, it is more of a user friendly. It's more of a, you're not allowed to have your coach backstage. And one of the reasons that they do that is because they want all of the competitors to mingle. They want you to rely on each other and help each other out. And it works. It really does. It's such an amazing bonding thing with the UFE. The CPA, you're allowed to have a coach back. So a lot of the competitors are just with their coach, and it's more individual. It's not like a big group event. But my coach, my posing coach was going to come, but she's in Florida, so she couldn't make it. So I was alone at the CPA event, didn't know anybody. There was nobody else that I knew competing. And I seen everybody just kind of sitting there, and I'm like, okay, this is going to make for a really boring, long day if everybody's just sitting there. So I went out of my way to actually get up and start talking to the girls in the room. And it seemed to work. Everybody kind of loosened up a bit, and everybody started talking. I'm like, okay, this is better. Now this is more enjoyable because, we're socializing. We're talking about our nerves, and we're talking about, what we got to do. And it just made it that much more fun. But yeah, everybody was great. It's good.
Yeah. Well, and that's neat that you have the ability to do that, to start a conversation. Not everyone. I've told this story before. My wife, she's not huge into starting conversations with people, and we were at at the airport once, she's go, I feel bad for that lady. She just sitting there. I go, we'll talk to her. I don't know what to say. So I turned to her. I go, so because we're in Chicago. I go, is Kansas City your home? Or are you headed somewhere? And I literally went at my wife because I was like, it literally is that easy. All you have to do, and so but get him to, and so then I ended up talking to the lady for, the rest of the time. And I'm sure my wife got jealous because I was talking to this old lady in her wheelchair. But I mean, so that is neat because it sounded like when you were talking earlier about the competition, the way that you were seeing it is you want to be better than the others and not have them be worse than you. And I know, meaning that, so relating it to golf, I always wanted to shoot better than someone else. I didn't hope that they missed a shot or hit it into the woods. I didn't wish bad things upon them. I just wanted to be more prepared, and that's what it seemed like with you. You were talking about, I want to, as long as I'm prepared and I'm doing the things I need to, it's going to take care of itself, is how you made it sound earlier. And then explaining the other competitors, it sounds like everyone has that attitude, which is nice.
Well, of course. You want to be the best you can be. Like your main competition is yourself. Like I know you're competing against the other girls on stage, but you can only be the best that you can be. So when I look at a picture of myself from the first time I competed, that's my competition. I want to know that when I stepped on stage this year, that I was in the best shape, that I've done everything in my power to be the best that I could be. So in a sense, really, that you don't know who's going to show up on the day of the competition. You could be the best that day, you could be the worst, but as long as you brought your best self, then that's the most important thing. Like I knew that even if I finished last, that I was still happy with what I brought. I did everything in my power to be the best that I could be. So yeah, I guess it's kind of my own competition that way.
So if you enter if you compete in the world at some point, do you have if I do this, I'm done? Like if I win this title, I'm the world's fittest Canadian. I don't know. I guess world and whatever. You become something. Do you say I'm done? Because I always said the best I ever shot in golf was a 70. I had always said if I shot a 69, I would just quit because I just want to tell people I shot a 69. Yeah. So is there a mark that you attain that you say I'm done with competition, I'm going to focus on everything else?
No, I don't think so. After I competed the last time, I thought, I can't wait to compete again. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I should just focus on coaching. But I realized that, I do want to keep building, and I'm never going to stop working out. I love working out. I'm addicted to it. But I probably will eventually get to the point where okay, I feel like I'm as big as I'm going to get. I'm ready to compete again. So I may compete one more time. I might compete. I have friends that are in their 70s competing. So, I mean, that would be great if I could still be competing at that point. But if not, then I'll still be in shape though, because I'll continue to work out. So I don't really know. Not sure, but there's no stop point. Like there's nothing that all of a sudden I would say, yes, I got this. Now I'm done. It's probably going to always be wanting even more.
So. No, I mean, that's good. We didn't even get to it this time because I think there's still a lot of conversation if you want to come back at some point, because we didn't even talk about your modeling. So when I first reached out to you, I had seen your Charlene Farnsworth Fitness on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I had Jason on a couple times. I was like, oh, I would really like to talk about what she does, because Jason is working with not all men, I think, but most specifically men. And so I was like, oh, I should get and then you liked something on my Instagram from your model.Charlene. Because I was like, I think she should have a lot more followers than this. Now, this is someone that has less than 200 followers on Instagram, because I'm not an Instagram type of guy. But I was like, she should have more followers than this. And then you followed me on your model page. And I was like, oh, she does have more followers. There they are. But I wanted to ask, because this will go with the fitness, but I had written it under the modeling point about your family, because you do have grandkids, which means that you would have children and you have a spouse. How are they? Because you haven't done this their whole life. It's not like, oh, well, mom just has done this. Grandma has always done this. Yeah. So how have they reacted, received? How are they with your competition, you getting up on there?
They're all my biggest supporters. I am so lucky. I have such an amazing family. My children, I have one grandchild. My granddaughter's 4. My granddaughter, my husband, my parents, they are always 100% my cheerleading squad. No matter what I do, they're always there for me. We're all there for each other. We're very close and very supportive of each other. So yeah, they're magnificent. Love them.
Well, that's good, because when I wear my Speedo, I can't get my family, I get my wife. I can't get the rest of the family to go to a pool with me. So go figure.
Oh no, it's not like that.
I want to ask one other question, because it probably happens on both your pages. I was going through some of your photos and the comments that are made, especially by guys. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand that mentality. I don't understand. How do you just ignore those? Do you just, I mean, like, when people are, I don't know. I just, it's, to me, like, when people say something about me wearing my Speedo, it's because I like my body. It's not my body. I like it. I like being tan. It has nothing to do with you all.
No.
Whether there's no one at the pool or the pool's packed, I'm wearing the same Speedo that I am now. And I don't really care about comments. I'm sure people make comments about me wearing the Speedo. I don't care. But like, some of the comment, how are you as a woman able to, I don't know. I don't even know how to phrase the question. I mean, the comments that guys make, I always want to be like, and you wonder why let me back this up in case you don't know this story. I guess in the United States, there was a study done where women would rather be alone in the woods with a bear than they would a man.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
But here's the thing. It's comments by men that lead women to go, I would rather be in the woods with a bear than a man. Yeah. So to finish my stumbling along, on comments that are whatever, I probably not I don't know, not appropriate. I say a lot of things that I don't know how to phrase this. When people make comments that you may be like, that's unnecessary. How do you do you just bypass that? Do you block them? How do you deal with that in your life?
So it's been a few years now that I've had my Instagram up and running. And in the beginning, I was just like, oh my gosh, whoa, this is crazy. And block and delete becomes your best friend. That's for the ones that are really scary, because there's sometimes really freaky people out there. And then as I got more and more followers, it gets to the point where there's so many, sometimes I just don't even see some of them. And so I don't even bother. But Instagram does do it. Sometimes they automatically block them or delete them if they're really bad. But yeah, I've got to the point where unless they're absolutely disgusting, I just ignore them. I don't let them bother me. If it was something, a threat or something, that would be a different story. But I just kind of like brush it off. Whatever, it is what it is.
Well, it just amazed me because, like, on your fitness page is not so totally dissimilar to the information that Jason's getting out. And all of Jason's comments are like, I'm working, I'm doing this, and it's less about him physically. Like, I don't ever see a girl or a guy for that matter going, oh my God, and saying something about that. And it just seemed like the comments are so drastically different that I would think that
men, it's men.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was funny. So so there's someone that when I was still working part-time and doing this, there's someone I worked with, and he likes to talk on speakerphone. When he's on a phone call, he likes to talk on speakerphone. Well, problem is everyone gets to hear your phone call. Well, he's having an interaction with his ex. And so when he hung up, I go, it sounds like someone would rather be in the woods with a bear. Oh my God. I have never heard a grown man scream to an owner of a company, someone's making fun of me. But it is. But I mean, I look at those comments and I go, and these are the guys that wonder why they're single.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just, to me, it's appalling is probably too harsh, but I don't. I just can't even wrap my head around that. And I find the stark contrast in comments between you and male counterparts. I just find that very weird, because I do want to talk to you about your modeling too. So we won't have to do it here. Hopefully you'll come back at some point. But did this start about, you said that you did some modeling back in the day. Did this reignite once you had got yourself physically where, oh man, I'm going to be on stage in a bikini. That's where I'm headed. Did that reignite your interest in being a model, or was it photographers are like, hey, I want to take your picture? What led, were you approached, or were you the one out there approaching?
So what got me back into modeling was after I was like almost turning 50. A friend of mine who is a bodybuilder, much younger than me, she does a lot of charity work, and she every year would do a calendar, and all the proceeds would go to a charity, and she'd have a different theme every year. And she approached me and said, Charlene, I'd love to have you in this calendar that I'm doing. It's for bodybuilders, people that work out, and people that have been through something in life, a struggle that, whether they were what's cancer or whatever.
Right.
And, now they've decided that they're going to work out and stay healthy and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm like, yeah, I was so excited because, here I was with this new great body, and I was feeling great. And I was going to be turning 50, and what better way? And my birthday's in January. So she made me the January page, it was the first page. So anyways, I got to be in this calendar, and it was the first time that I had done any sort of like modeling since I was in my early 20s. And it looked amazing. I was so proud of myself, and so many people bought it, and people were commenting, and a lot of people are like, you should be doing this. And I'm like, I'm 50 years old. Nobody wants a 50-year-old model. But boy, was I wrong. I realized that once I started to put my stuff out there, my daughter helped me with the Instagram, because that's obviously the model page came first, which is why it has the tacky name model.Charlene. My daughter's like, just pick anything. Here, you want to do modeling? We'll do. But then I was afraid to change it, because I thought people would, because there's so many scammers out there. If I change my name, maybe they don't think it's me or whatever. So it's just kind of stuck. I know it's dumb, but anyways, so from that calendar, I just started getting approached by different people, some companies, like nothing huge, obviously not enough to make a living off. And yeah, so that's how that all started. And before I knew it, I realized there's a huge market for mature fit models, because there's not many. I know it sounds weird, but I mean, to me, it seems like there's many, because I'm friends with the ones that are out there, but there's really not. There's not a lot of middle-aged fitness models. They are out there, but it's not like finding a 20-year-old fitness model. They're, a dime a dozen. So I realized that, wow, there is a market for me to be modeling. And, that's when I started doing some lingerie and stuff. And, some people were like, whoa, you're in your 50s. Should you be doing that? I'm like, what's the difference whether if I'm in my 50s or if I'm in my 20s? I don't care. If I feel like I want to do it and I'm getting paid to do it, then I'm going to do it. I'm quite comfortable with it, as long as they don't ask me to do a speech while I'm doing it.
But they are great. And it's interesting, as you were talking there, I didn't even think about this, do you sometimes feel like the world is a more fit place than what it actually is? Because you're around all these fitness people. You're like, oh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I'm just a little toad. I mean, so you're around all, because here I know, so sometimes I will make comments. So I was a math major way back in the day, and I'll make comments that are rooted in math. And I know at 56, the percentage of people in the United States that look like me is tiny. And so so I may sound cocky and be like, well, I know I'm going to be the best looking guy there. And people are like, well, that's kind of cocky. There's only going to be 6 other guys there, and they're all my age. So the chance, I mean, I just thought it was interesting when you mentioned that you're around fitness people. I didn't even think of that, because you may think the world, everyone's eating well.
Yeah, no, and I totally, that you made a good point. So I'm aware of it though.
Okay.
But it still does affect you mentally, like because you almost live in an echo chamber, like all the people that I follow on Instagram, all of my friends, that I've made through the fitness industry, that, you know, through bodybuilding, at the gym, all those kind of, you know, so I'm surrounded by those people. But I am also reminded every time I go to the grocery store, every time I go anywhere, I look around and say, this is the normal. And wow, it's way different from when I'm at the gym or when I'm online with my fitness friends. Like, and that's when it reminds me to remind myself that on those days when I feel inferior to all those other people that I'm around at the gym or at whatever, I'm still doing pretty good compared to the average normal societal, you know, wherever you are.
You know, yeah. And I agree with that. And that is, it was funny because I always tell people, don't let my confidence offend you, because I am very confident. But here's the thing. So I'm in a couple of high IQ societies. So like Mensa, the minimum is 132 to get in. I'm 136. So I'm kind of like on the low end. So if I'm talking to other people, I will defer. I know that they're smarter than I am. I know that they're that. So I am very well aware of my surroundings. I am just also very well aware that when I was at the pool, either last year or the year before, there was a woman who's about my age, who is not in shape, telling a young girl, all I heard of the conversation was, because this young girl works out, and she's like, well, you don't need to work out. Everyone gets fat eventually. And I was laying at the end of the pool, and all I said was, that is bullshit. Do not listen to her.
Yeah.
Because I was offended that someone would even, you know, the difference between me and other people is that I get up and work out. I mean, I told Jason the last time he was on the show that morning, I was so anxious to talk to him. I got up like at 4 a.m. and I was mad that I was having to stretch out to get limber enough that I could start lifting weights. I mean, I was so anxious to start lifting weights, but that makes me different than other people.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. And that's so, Charlene, thank you for coming on. I've enjoyed talking to you. There's so much more. I told you that I was going to have even more notes written down, and I've been jotting notes the whole time we've been talking. Help me create another show if you'll ever come back.
Oh, I would love to. There's lots that we didn't get a chance to talk about, for sure.
We didn't. And, you know, there may be more. I think that I'm going to be able to use a lot of what we've talked about in questions that I may have for you that I'll be able to have for Sky. Because even though you're on a similar journey, it's still very different.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think that'll be wonderful. But man, I want to tell you that I know that you were very afraid to or nervous to be on this podcast. You did amazing. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
But even I also wanted to say thank you for responding to me on Instagram. I am just, I don't know what I'm doing with this show. I love doing it. I love talking to people. But, you know, I actually reached out to someone and they responded that, well, this isn't the proper way to reach out. I go, you responded, didn't you? And they're like, well, yeah, I did. And so we went from there. But it was funny because I was just like, I don't know how else to get a hold of you. Actually, I think I did email you. I think you had your link tree in there. So I think I may have emailed you, but I'd found you. And I just really appreciate you, especially with the comments that you get on Instagram from some people, taking the time to read this, read my email, take the time to be on the show and spend time with me, because it's been a lot of fun talking to you. I know a lot of people are going to really enjoy this. I'm looking forward to talking to Sky. And then, you know, at some point I had thought that I was going to have a big Toronto be prior to November, see where everyone's at that point. Are you good? Is Sky going to be able to, is she scheduled to compete in November? I believe she is.
Yes.
She is.
Yes.
And as her coach, will you be there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Man, it was so much fun. Anything you want to leave our listeners with? Once again, I'm going to mention at model.charlene and at Charfarn Fitness. Those are on Instagram. Anywhere else they can find you?
Charfarn Fitness is also on Facebook, and my TikTok is fitmodel.charlene on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when this episode comes out, which it won't be for a couple weeks, I'll have all that listed. So please go to the Stone Genius Instagram. I'll have all the links to find Charlene on there. You'll be able to see her fitness page. You'll be able to see her model page. There's a lot out there. It's amazing. Thank you so much for being on the program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Everyone else, you guys have been listening to the Stone Genius podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to y'all later. Okay, the audio is clear. Thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
So great. You make it so relaxing. Like I was so nervous, but then after talking a little bit, I just felt comfortable, really comfortable. So.
And I appreciate that. And that's, like I say, generally it's just, I like getting to know people. I like learning about people.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like I say, if you come back again, typically they'll get a little bit more and more focused as I learn more about you. And we didn't even talk about modeling and things like that. And I want to point this as a former, I'm still a photographer, but I don't do it like as a living anymore. I just want you to, and I looked at the date. I think it was back in January, maybe. There's a picture of you on vacation, and there's a picture of you modeling right next to it. And you look amazing. Whatever you're wearing, you look amazing. But look at your face between the two. In all of your personal photos, that is so when I took photos, I wanted personality to come out, because I think you could put someone in lingerie, but if I came in, and this is just me. If I came in and saw my wife dressed like you, I'd be like, oh, great. And then I look at, I don't think you were looking at the camera in any of the pictures. Like you're looking away, and that could have been direction. Like, don't look at the camera. Some people will do that. But like, especially if someone like, not only like if I saw that picture of my wife, it'd be like, I want her to look like she wants me to. And that you have such a good personality in those pictures of you at the beach and things like that. Your face, you're smiling, you're bubbling, and then your other ones, they all look great, but your personality isn't. And that's just me. And that is not, you look amazing. And that's what you have 200 and some odd thousand followers, and I don't. So I probably do not know what I'm talking about. But you do
what the photographer, like if I'm working for a photographer, I have to give what he wants. So
I
if
know
he wants me to look away, if he wants me to hold my lips a certain way, I do whatever, because and
that's what I thought, because I do understand that as a photographer. I'm just saying that me personally as a photographer, you just look, why wouldn't you want that smile? And when your eyes get, but that's why I said that, because you don't know what someone else is doing. When I used to coach our girls, our youngest, her basketball team, I taught them how to play zone. Well, I didn't tell the fucking parents that. So during the game, they're playing zone, not following the other little. So they're follow your person, and I turn around and I go, they're playing zone. They're like, oh, we didn't know. And they didn't know. So I didn't. And I do understand that you get direction from a photographer. I just know that when you smile, it also, your cheeks, your eyes get bigger, they get brighter, and you have such a beautiful, I mean,
thank you. And I have to say, I do agree. I prefer pictures of me smiling over any of them. But
yeah. I mean, and I just noticed that because when I was looking yesterday, because sometimes I'll go through there and look for like information. Oh, you did this, you were there, something like that. And so I was looking through, and there was one picture of you, like, I don't know what you were wearing, but lingerie, whatever that photo was. And then there was one of you at the bikini at the beach, in like, as a photographer, as someone that's looking at a picture and wants to see a picture, I don't mean to be gross. If someone's going to masturbate, they pick one picture of someone. I mean, I want to know more about, why is this girl laughing? What fun is she having? Where's she at? What beach is she at? I mean, that's the part that, is like exciting. Like that draws me in. When I was a photographer, when I would do sports games, I would not shoot the game. I would shoot through the game, so it was a blur, and I would want to get reactions in the background. Like if a goal was scored, you would see like the hands up, they would be blurry, but you'd see the people in the background with all these real reactions, and that's really what spoke to me. And it just was such a stark contrast of, man, Charlene looks like she's having so much fun, and here she looks like
It's the
why
real
am I
life against the not real life. That's
It is. It is. So, and that was my only thing, because that's an amazing collection of photographs. They look just outstanding. It was just so weird. And I probably wouldn't have seen that if I wouldn't have been scrolling and saw them right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that looks it doesn't even look like,
the same.
Yeah, it doesn't. So, man, thank you so much for being on. Also, if you want to email me, if there's a headshot, any photographs you want to use, or the links that you want, you can go ahead and email me those if you haven't already, and I'll use those. The date of this should be episode 327, coming out on July 11th, which I believe is a Thursday. But I'll email you right beforehand, and then this video that we've shot, I'll dump it down into actually I won't. I'll put it into some software, and I'll make some like 1-minute clips, and then I'll promote it as well. So
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So much
It was a
fun.
pleasure meeting you. And then like I say, once I kind of write down another, I may send an email, and if you're interested right now,
I'd love to come back. Yeah.
Okay, I'm booking like 6 weeks out right now, and then I've slowed down. I've been doing 3 episodes a week, but only putting 2 out, which means so for every 2 weeks, I actually get 3 weeks worth of shows. So I'm getting a little backlog, so it may be a little bit. I'll send you an email, and you can just pick another date. And I may, depending how it goes with Skylar, when I talk to her, and I don't know your third members.
Deanna. Anna D, I think is
okay
on Instagram.
Okay. So, but it may be interesting to have, if you're able to, and you don't even have to be in the same location, but doing like something about together, just to see, how that goes. So, but
I don't know if you're looking for other ideas. My daughter is a very interesting person. If you're looking,
I am always. In fact, I'll email you another, because sometimes when I make modifications to my calendar, it changes the link. So I'll update the link. If she wants to be on, that's one thing I love about doing this, is I get to talk to interesting people. So as an adult, most of the times we don't get to choose who we hang out with. We're at work, we're at church, I didn't pick these people to come out, whatever. You don't get to pick I get to pick all you all. Yeah. I mean, I get to find someone that I think is exciting. Jason's the same way. I saw him on Instagram. I just reached out. I was like, hey, and we communicate every day now. I mean, we send stuff back and forth, but it's just so much fun, because I get to meet amazing people like you. In fact, I told my wife, we were trying to think of somewhere to go. Our anniversary is the end of November. And I was looking at the November. I love Toronto. And I was like, we could go to Toronto. I could do live shows from Toronto. So
yeah, November it's cold though.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a Florida guy, so that doesn't work out particularly well for me. Thank you again so much. But what does your daughter do?
What doesn't she do?
Okay. Yeah.
She is right now, she is a tattoo artist, self-taught. She's had her tattoo shop for, I don't even know, maybe 6 months now. I could be off. I don't know. But she was went to school to be a daycare person. And then she started her own store called Piper's Closet, which hit it off from doing a TikTok. Then she sold that store a year later because there was like a high demand for people wanting to buy it. And she just goes like, all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this. So, and then she opens a store, and she does great. So her, you know what, I'll go online. I can't remember exactly what it is, and I'll send it to you through their email or Instagram. You can check it out and see what you think. And
yeah, no, that would be, and I didn't even ask, we're talking about tanning. I didn't even ask about tattoos on there, because I know that you have at least one tattoo,
I have.
But then Skylar has multiple tattoos.
Yeah, my daughter's done some of those.
And I have multiple tattoos as well. And it's funny, because like I have one on my forearm, which I can't see unless I do this. I have one, behind and I can't, it's funny. I forget that I have some of these on there. So I didn't even ask about whether that's changed over time, or whether, because I just wonder whether the ink enhances,
No, it doesn't enhance. It can be distracting depending on location too. It can take away from definition.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
So, or someone's just like, they have a big picture of a cat on their thigh, and you're like, well, I'm a dog person, so that person's out. You never know. Charlene, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And like, again, I am so appreciative that you said yes when I reached out to you, because there's probably no reason for you to have said yes, but for you to say yes, I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It was great meeting.
I'll look forward to getting information that we'll post with your show when it comes out, and more information so I can find out about your daughter. I'd love to, even just you could have stopped at tattoo artists and I'm on board at that point.
But she's a much better speaker than I am too.
You did great. And that's what I always try to, it ends up just being a conversation. And I really appreciate that. You did great. So it was awesome. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.